details coming to light into the deadly encounter between Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson and Michael Brown as we await a grand jury's decision whether or not to charge the officer. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch has obtained surveillance video and police reportings from the day of the incident suggesting the entire incident took place in less than 90 seconds. Here's some of what we've heard.
There's several more units over here. There's going to be a problem.
Any available Ferguson units who can respond to Canfield and Copper Creek advise?
Mercedes Coleman is here. She's a Fox News legal analyst, and Kirsten Wilson, a trial attorney. Good to see you both. And ladies, I'm gonna read a statement from the Brown family after we talk about this for a minute. Their reaction to that new release of that surveillance video, as well as that dispatch recording we just heard. So I want to start with this, and Kirsten, you're going to answer this first for me. Mercedes, you'll get a shot at. Sure. What happens if Officer Wilson, is not indicted? Should he be reinstated, and in what capacity?
I'm guessing, as we've seen on the night that he went to the hospital, the union is already involved. He has union counsel advising him. If he is let go and there is no indictment, no criminal charge, and no internal investigation that yields any sort of wrongdoing, you can be sure that the police department would be sued if he's in fact let go. It would be determined to be wrongful termination. And so as difficult as it may be for people to accept, given how emotionally charged the situation is, if there's no indictment, I'm guessing he's staying on the job.
And that you took me, actually, you can answer that part first, Mercedes, but you took me, Kirsten, to where I was going to go next. If Wilson is not indicted, are there any further legal routes that Michael Brown's attorneys can take from that point?
Well, every police department across the nation has immunity through Monell. Monell basically says you have to show a pattern and practice of discrimination or police brutality in order for there to be a claim to condemn the entire police department. So even if there are charges against, I'm talking civil charges against this particular Officer Wilson, you still have to show that there's a pattern and practice in place and that the entire police department had that type of systemic discrimination or police brutality against individuals. It can't be. That's why so many of these police brutality cases are ultimately exonerate the police department. You just can't find that type of systemic breakdown within police departments across the nation.
So then, am I understanding correctly that what you're saying, Mercedes, is that if in fact Officer Wilson is not indicted, that is kind of the end of the legal road for Michael Brown's attorneys?
Well, in the civil part, there's also, if they're federal charges, I mean, that's the thing. We're talking state right now. If there's also civil, if there's federal and state charges that can come, depends on which jurisdiction. And federal and state, you don't get triggered double jeopardy. You can be found unindictable under the state laws, and then they go into the federal arena and say, well, you violated this individual's federal rights.
Right. So it may not be the end of it. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and it's clear that the federal authorities are keeping an eye on this. They, in fact, there's been much publicity about the Brown family having their own autopsy done, and in fact, the federal authorities have an autopsy done in this case as well. So they're definitely keeping their eye on it and monitoring how things are playing out and if things are being done properly.
And a lot of it has to do because the U.S. Attorney General, Eric Holder, was so aggressive with this police department. The investigation's not even completed, and he's already condemning the police department. So there's a lot of political underpinnings to this case, which lends to believe feds are going to come in. It's just a matter of time. They're allowing the state to go through that process, but the feds are going to step in.
All right, Michael Brown's family had Dr. Bodden come in to perform an autopsy. Let me read this statement from Michael Brown's family in reaction to the latest recordings that we heard from the incident that day. Here it is. Quote, information was leaked from within the police department that Wilson was severely beaten and suffered an orbital eye socket blowout, indicating that Michael Brown somehow deserved to die. From the video released today, it would appear the initial descriptions of his injuries were exaggerated. Furthermore, the audio clearly demonstrates that the initial interaction with the officer and Brown had nothing to do with the incident at the convenience store. The remaining portions of the audio tape did not establish any connection with the convenience store incident. Again, that's a statement from Michael Brown's family. Let's jump off there. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, here's a video. Thank you, Christine, from the incident at the convenience store there where Michael Brown is allegedly charged. Okay, this is the video here inside the police department. after the shooting. All right, so that was Officer Brown there in the white T-shirt. Okay, back to my thought here. So I understand there's something there called the Sunshine Law, where that's how the dispatch was able to obtain this information. So what do you make of this statement or this information being released now? I mean, what's your take on this?
It's inflammatory. I mean, look, it's tragic all around. We're deeply sorry for the family's loss, but it's inflammatory to say that. Were these statements? I mean, sure, you can see the police officers, yeah, but you can look at medical records. But what these audio tapes to show and what's been shown to the public, this is a portion of what's been shown, not the entire time that he was in the police in the station.
And obviously, there are a couple things that are going on here. There's the investigation itself, and then there is the public reaction, which is all over the news because things are percolating, gun sales are up, places are boarding up their windows. And I agree with Mercedes that while a grand jury investigation is going on, even if they have the right to have this information, to start releasing it right when potentially an indictment or a no-true bill may be coming forward is just inciting the masses that don't have all the information that the grand jurors have. Grand jurors have been hearing this case for 3 months at this point.
I want to switch here because we started the supposition if Wilson is not indicted. I want to go now, what if Wilson is indicted? Mercedes, pick up here for me. What might that mean in terms of punishment? And could his attorneys appeal that decision?
Oh, I mean, they can't appeal the grand jury decision. It'll go to them. They cannot. He'll have a process. All due process means he's going to have a trial unless he pleads. We're talking a murder charge. It's not going to be murder one because it's not premeditated, but it may be reckless murder, depraved indifference murder, all of which it's 25 to life.
So
carry that.
If indicted, then it definitely goes to trial.
Exactly
and
right.
Then we'll find out what the punishment might be at that point. And you said it could be up to what?
Oh, it could be 25 to life. I mean, if it's depraved indifference, which is what they're going to show, that's what they're going to try to prove. They're going to say this is depraved indifference. You should not have shot this boy to begin with.
Reports that have been coming out are that the prosecutor has actually ceded the authority to make a charging decision to the grand jurors, that they're possibly looking at first-degree murder, second-degree murder, or manslaughter. And so it's sort of up in the air if an indictment does come down, what it's going to be. But what we will know, if the indictment comes forward, we'll start seeing more of the actual facts and information from the investigation.
Now, a lot of people who have been following the case, they're just, lay people just thinking, okay, is there any way that a grand jury's decision could be tainted or persuaded by the social outcry, the social involvement? It's just been, the protesters. You've got people on both sides of this story, and we're not here to take either side. But could all of this attention in any way persuade or sway how the grand jury might decide?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, I think there's a real concern about that because you're still in Ferguson County. You haven't moved. As a defense attorney, I would definitely move this somewhere else, very far away. If it goes to trial, have to have a change of venue because you're going to have the same jurors. There are many, many more of these grand jurors as opposed to just 12, which would be the trial phase. So maybe the influences become greater when you've got a greater group of people making the same singular decision. There's going to be more of a mob mentality between them, whether or not they're indicted or not.
All right, Mercedes Poland and Kirsten Wilson, I have to leave it there. And thank you both for your analysis.
Thank you.
Okay.